Welcome back to another episode of Performance Shift. If you have ever wondered what it takes to achieve remarkable success to overcome obstacles and transform your performance in the face of big change, then you're in the right place.
That's right, you are. This is the podcast that will take you on a journey of discovery, exploration, and transformation and give you all the tools you need to navigate your own moments of change.
My name's John Register, and I'm a two-time Paralympic athlete. I'm a combat Army veteran, and I'm an author.
And I'm an organizational consultant, author, and improviser.
And her name is the wonderful, the amazing Kat Coppett. And together we're sharing our expertise and insights on how we can navigate change and find success in the face of adversity.
You are here with us live, potentially, in this moment. We are also up on Apple, Google, and most places where you can catch your podcasts. Just go there, download episodes whenever you feel like it.
If you have a friend, you are enjoying these podcasts and these episodes, please share them with a friend. Hit the notification bell and make sure that you're always in with us because we're having some great conversation. We have a fantastic guest today. And so let's just jump on in, Kat.
All right, let's do it. Who have we got? John?
Okay. All right. Okay. She's amazing. And I can't wait for everybody to meet her. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my immense pleasure to introduce you to our podcast guest today. She is a CPA, MBA, an executive of repute. Her career is a testament to her unparalleled dedication to strategic collaboration, celebrating change, and seizing the myriad of opportunities that spring from a fluid environment. We met at the CPAs of Greater Washington, D.C. I am definitely not a CPA because I am, as we were talking about earlier, I'm a creative. I'm very creative when it comes to CPA. I do a lot of creative stuff.
You can get in trouble doing that. You got to be careful.
I get in trouble doing that. And I found her to be energetic, smart, funny, and just a doer. Many people talk about goals and dreams and aspirations, but folks just find it difficult to take action, I find, and even sometimes myself. So please welcome, as a founding member of Chief, a private network of women's leaders, Amy's journey of her journey. I just gave her anyway. Journey of continuous learning and mentorship continues to inspire many. So please welcome to Performance Shift, the amazing Amy C. Horner.
Woohoo!
You're live.
But we can't hear
Don't
you.
hear you though. Where's your mic?
We just heard you a minute ago.
Uh-oh. Oh, we're having technical difficulties now. All of a sudden, we just had her in there. What happened? Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can open up her mic. Let me remove, and then get back to stage again. How about that? No, we don't have you. What happened? Our stream is not going. This is not what happened to Kat. I don't know what happened.
Excuse me.
We have jumped in here. Oh, she's going to disconnect and come. She's going to come back in. So that was a great introduction. And
maybe we can. In the meantime, maybe we want to hear from some of our listeners if anybody's out there to come say hi.
How about now? You there? Oh my gosh, what's happening?
Change. It's all about change.
It's all about change.
How do you navigate the unexpected?
Mute mic, unmute mic. I don't know what to do as far as comments. Oh, we're having some challenges this morning. We were just talking to her.
It was just working. So I'm assuming, Amy, you've checked your audio and all of that, right? You can hear us.
You can hear us, but we can't hear you.
We could do the whole interview in charades. We'll mime everything.
We're gonna mime because
that's right.
Oh crap!
Do you think we should just stop and restart?
We can do that.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Stop podcast.
We can
Stop
hear you
podcast. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, we got you.
Yes.
What happened?
I don't know.
It just came back in. Wow.
Wow.
Thanks, Ruth. Ruth, you came in and saved the day. So Ruth said, stop the podcast and reconnect. We didn't have to do that, but it was great. Thank you, Ruth. Awesome.
Just the magic of thinking about reconnecting.
And now with the podcast, we can actually edit all that out.
We can.
Well, that's exciting. So only our live guests have to see us fumble with technology.
That's right.
I don't know what happened. We just worked and then it didn't. But anyway, welcome to the show. So excited to have you on.
Good morning again.
Good morning. Good morning. One of the things we're both, Kat and I were looking. I'm just going to jump right into the chase because we looked at your bio through, and I didn't even know this. So, and we've been, kind of hanging out, been down there in North Carolina with you and your family, beautiful family. These speaking engagements that you have, what is entitled Hug the Porcupine, how to embrace change without injury.
Yes.
That is intriguing. I want to start right there and just dive in and find out, what does that mean? What is, because I don't necessarily want to hug porcupines. But tell us.
And I like that because a lot of people don't necessarily want to embrace change. Yeah. I think that most people, I have found that when change comes at them, they do look at it like something that's going to injure them, somewhat like a porcupine. And so that visual really came from, you can embrace this and it won't injure you if you do it the right way. I think we all know if we poke the porcupine, if we are not kind to the porcupine has the opportunity to create some damage to our physical and mental well-being. But if we can be kind to the porcupine and embrace that cute little animal and really turn it into a relationship that we enjoy, then change isn't that difficult and scary. I've never come across a porcupine in the wild. I'm assuming it's somewhat terrifying. Fight or flight probably really kicks in. And when faced with change, I mean, Kat, I'm sure you know this, fight or flight kicks in for some people.
I think for all of us in some kinds of change, our listeners know I'm a professional improviser, right? It's my job to embrace the unknown and change. But in real life, there are plenty of things that, plenty of kinds of change that are really scary. We talk sometimes here about change that you seek, like maybe you want a new job or you're buying a new house or you're going on vacation somewhere, or change that's thrust upon you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, do you feel like those kinds of, like how the change comes around matters in this?
Absolutely. From my viewpoint, I see change in two flavors. The change you seek out and create for yourself or for whomever the group of yourself is, your team, your organization, your family. And then I see reactive change, right? Change that is happening around you that you may or may not have any control of, that you are acting in reaction to. And I think we are all familiar with the phrase, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And when I speak on that particular type of change, I have a movie character that I like to refer to. That movie character is from the Willy Wonka movie, and it's the version with Johnny Depp. Mm-hmm. And in that movie, we all know who Charlie is, right? Charlie is the cute little kid who somehow finds $1 and gets his golden ticket. But there are other characters in this movie, supporting characters, and one of them is Charlie's dad. And Charlie's dad's name, his character's name is William Bucket. And when we first meet William Bucket, he is a worker in a toothpaste factory, and it is his job to screw the toothpaste caps on the toothpaste tubes. Not a very technical job, and something that he doesn't really seem to enjoy. And his boss is always looking over his shoulder, and it just seems that he's a doer, but he's not really thinking about what he's doing. And at some point, we see Charlie's dad receive a pink slip. And if you don't know what a pink slip is, it means he was involuntarily terminated, AKA he was fired. And Charlie's dad is very upset because this is a change he couldn't control and he didn't see coming. And now it has really impacted him. We see Charlie's dad later in the movie. He has taken seemingly some sort of vocational training, and he is now the person that comes in and fixes the machine that replaced him. Remember, there was a machine that replaced him screwing the caps on the toothpaste tubes. And when it breaks, he's now the hero And he's a solutions architect instead of just a cog in the wheel of doing. And so that's a great story of reactive change and overcoming that. We have someone on this call who has had to react to a change outside of his control. But that's such a visual of how we can positively react to something instead of really letting it get us down.
Yeah.
I never saw that in that. But I don't know if I've seen I think I saw the Johnny Depp one once.
Yeah, it's not in the books or the other movies.
William Bucket is not a character in the books or the movies. He was created solely for this iteration, I think, by the director, if I remember correctly. I have an article about it up on Horner's Corner. I can always share that with you if you want that to go out.
We'll put it in our show notes. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Yeah, one of my differentiators in when I'm speaking, I'm really talking about that second phase of the change that's thrust upon you, and you cannot go back to the way it used to be. It's an impossibility, right? An amputation of a leg, you don't get your leg back. So that's the change I'm really talking into. Ruth is talking about she agrees with what you're saying. So you have a fan out there already.
Thank you, Ruth.
Yes. When you look at change, I mean, we met when I was in front of an organization that was shifting, was changing. We had lost at least 14 people from headcount. Yeah. I was asked to come in as an interim in this position and CEO, and then to an acting CEO. And it was a battle. It was tough, and part of that was we had to get the finances in control. So one of your colleagues was working with us to help us do that. When you're looking at change and helping from the organizational standpoint now, how are you walking somebody or a person, a group, through that transition when stuff is coming at them so fast and they don't even know possibly which way is up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first place I step as a leader is that if we're calm, if I'm calm, they're calm, right? If we as leaders are calm, the people that are looking to us for, as a role model for behavioral cues, they're calm as well. And then I think for the situation and similar situations like what you're describing, John, you're not going to get through it all at once. And so trying to avoid that results orientation, frenetic pace that's going to burn you out, taking a look at, we have this long list of things to do, right? This big set of responsibilities. Let's prioritize them, and let's prioritize them in pieces. So that once we get done with piece one, we can celebrate that milestone and feel good about it and gain momentum when we're working into piece two, right? We're also focused on going from here over to here. We're not celebrating those stops along the way, right? When we get to stop number one, we immediately stress out about stop number two. Slow down, have a cupcake, throw some confetti, whatever you need to do. But make sure that you look back and say, okay, we cleared, how many hurdles are in the 300-meter hurdles, John?
In there are 8 in the 300-meter hurdle race, 10 in the 400-meter hurdle race. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So if we have 8 milestones, let's celebrate that we successfully got over the first one.
Yeah.
And I think that momentum is critically important, really for motivation. You need to get people motivated to go all the way from the starting line to the finish line. I love analogies. Kat has caught on. I really love sports analogies because it's a good visual cue for a lot of people. And it's something that, sports is typically such a positive experience for people, or at least watching others do sport is a positive experience for people. And so that, those analogies and those visuals, I think, are always helpful.
What I love about one of the reasons that I think sports analogies are so great and why people enjoy sports is because there's structure there, right? There's a way of, when you just said, there are these 8 hurdles, we know how many there are every time we run this race, we can name them. It makes me think about one of the things that is hard about change is the not knowing, not only like I'm in this new place now, and that feels uncomfortable, but also I don't quite know, like where are the hurdles? What are they going to be? How do I plan out from vision from where I am here to what are the steps that are going to get me where I want to go. I imagine you as a leader have thoughts about how to design. We sort of have to design our own game.
Yes. Yes, and that's very true. Sports have rules. Some of them have too many rules. Some of them have confusing rules, but there are rules. I really dislike the term get comfortable being uncomfortable because by definition, that's actually impossible if you think about the words.
Mhm.
So I use the term get comfortable in ambiguity or get comfortable navigating the unknown, because that's really what you're doing every day. But one of the things that we all had in common and all of our listeners have in common when we woke up this morning or whatever morning you're watching this is you have zero idea what's going to happen between now and when your head hits the pillow tonight. You have no idea. So you're actually navigating ambiguity or unknown every single day. I think people don't give themselves enough credit for how good they are at it and how much fun it can be to not have that strict set of rules and to enjoy it and figure it out, right? We figure things out as we go. I mean, Kat, to answer your question, a process that is too rigid becomes brittle and brittle things break, right? So let's embrace the unknown and kind of the fluidity that comes with that as we move, from the starting line across our 8 hurdles over to the finish line.
You're speaking Kat's language. I've been
You
talking
are
to Kat for a
singing
long
my
time.
song.
You definitely-
Would you like to
Yeah,
hang
yeah,
up and
okay.
Kat and I can just take it from here to
Just
the
go,
end?
because I can see her jumping right now. Because you just sparked her mind. We've been talking for a long time, and I know when she's lit up. So yeah, Kat, go ahead and ask another question because I know you're.
Well, I think that what I love most about what you just said is that we're actually doing this all the time, right?
All the time.
Sometimes we say we don't wake up with a script for the day next to our bedside table. And then you paired it with, and that means we're actually really good at it.
Yeah.
I think that change gets a bad rap. And our capacity to embrace and adapt to change, navigate it, gets a bad rap. So I don't know. Do you have tips about how to tap into our innate capacity to do that?
Yeah, I think that when we pursue our own change, when we create that script, that path, that to a destination, we do start to build our change muscle.
Hmm.
And so I think the more that people can say, I'm currently at step A, I'd like to get to E, I need to do B, C, D. Those were the right letters, right, John? I nailed that. 1 through 5. Easy for all of us to say. The more you flex your change muscle and find yourself in control or dictating change, I think the better you're going to be in that daily ambiguity and in that daily fluidity, because now you have confidence, right? You're going to show up and think, all right, this really unpredicted thing has happened to me, but I know that I can get through it, or that I can lead through it, and that I can succeed through it. Kat and I were talking kind of in the green room, right, when I was backstage while our microphones were still working before that little blip that we had, about that exact topic. And Kat, I would throw that a little bit back to you just for your thoughts.
Well, one of the reasons that John and I are here together, coming from the sports world, performance world, and the theater world, is because this idea of thinking about feeling comfortable with ambiguity, responding in the moment, paying attention, building with things, these are muscles. We can think of them as muscles that we exercise and train. Improvisers have a billion exercises that are about that, and mindsets, but they're very similar to the way an athlete trains for whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it strikes me, that we just said sports are a great analogy because they have all these rules, but it's also true that you've trained a certain set of skills, but you don't actually know what's going to happen in a game. I mean, I guess if you're doing a long jump or a hurdle, you have a little bit more control of everything. But if I'm playing baseball, football, I have no idea what's actually going to happen in the moment. I just know sort of what I intend and what my goal is, like what my skills are and what my goals are.
Right. And I like that. And you're correct. You have to train to be prepared for what you think may happen or something similar to what you think may happen. So then what does happen, I just wrote down, I love this phrase, responding in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to challenge myself to use that somewhere today. Thank
You're doing
you.
a great job today so far, right here.
This is really interesting because when I'm doing keynotes and I'll give an action step by 10 o'clock tomorrow, whatever it is that you think you need to do, take one action step towards it. So I'm prescribing an action, an activity. It's up to the person to take the action to do it. And linking this with the fun of what can come from it, I just don't think we make that connection that I'm in control of how I'm going to show up in that moment. And those that take, I call them the 1%ers, the 1% that actually take the action. Some of the things I get back, because I asked them to tell me what the process was like. That's all. That's my only cue. And write to me, write in an email what the process was like. And I get books. I'm talking about paragraphs of stuff. And it's beautiful of what what people have discovered. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm weeping because they share such deep things that they were thinking about. But they never would have done it had they not taken that cue.
Yeah.
And then I think about the 99% of those that don't do it. And they're just stuck in their routine. And it's not so much that they're stuck in the routine. Where my concern is that your analogy of the tree being brittle and not bending, when something does happen and snaps and breaks,
Catastrophic.
It's catastrophic.
Because we're so tightly grabbing onto whatever it was. We joked about creative accounting. If you're watching this, creative accounting is bad. Creativity as an accountant in strategy, good, but in your books, not advisable. But what you're talking about, John, with the 1% is what I would refer to as creative discovery. And I do think that when, as leaders, if we have someone that we see is kind of stuck, I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in that path and they dig that path or that trench so deeply that they can't see up over the other sides, right? And they might not even know that they're in the trench. And so by challenging them, I like to say to people, what are we doing and why are we doing it? Right. So back to a growth strategy that a lot of organizations have. Most organizations are going to know why they want a growth strategy. But what are we doing to execute that? How long have we been doing it that way? Just because it's been successful for a long period of time doesn't mean that we either couldn't be more successful in the way we're doing it or that we will be successful doing it that way in the future, because things do change. So having that creative discovery and giving people the time, take 2 hours today, right? Clean your head, sit down with a blank slate, get into that deep work mode and see how you would approach it with fresh eyes, right? If you were a consultant coming into this organization and you weren't the person responsible for executing whatever you are responsible for executing, how might you advise yourself to do it a little bit differently? And because people are so immersed in it and they're used to it, right? To y'all's point, I'm kind of going through the motions. But if you challenge people to take that step back, oftentimes because they are so close to it, their brain has given them a way to do it a little bit differently. They just haven't necessarily had the chance or the motivation to explore that.
I was up bleary-eyed at 3 o'clock in the morning. A friend of mine from Dubai asked me to speak to his client leadership team. And one of the activities I did, I don't know if it's going to work or not, because I'm like halfway around the world. Does this work? Does it actually work? So I went through a third party, him, to help me do this. and I call it Go Faster. And the game is everybody's in a circle. They pass an object around. It's usually a bean bag, and then I time it. So at first I don't time it. I just say just establish a pattern, and then once the pattern's established, then I invite them to go as fast as they can. And then once they have established the first baseline, maybe it's 15 seconds that they get through, I say, you know what? I think you can go a little bit faster. And so then they just pass it faster, right? Let's just do that because it's a race now. And then they get down from 15 seconds to maybe 12 seconds. I say, you can go faster. And if you keep on saying that, the creativity, there's a kind of a line that the brain just stops with everything that is normal or that is routine, that's obvious, and begins the creativity, to where I've seen people go from that 15 seconds down to a little bit under 1. And it was under 1 because I couldn't stop my stopwatch fast.
Right? That concept, as you're thinking that, I feel like then the culture of that team full of people also bubbles to the surface. Right. Is there innovation that's happening in between the members? Are they actively talking about a way to do something very simple faster, right? Because that's the challenge. Are they motivating and supporting one another as the beanbag is being passed around? Are they critical of one another because someone isn't doing it fast enough? There are probably several other things, but those 3 things came to mind as you're describing that scenario, because as that culture bubbles to the surface, then maybe you're also a little bit better able to identify a place where there's a gap or a weakness or a strength that you can build on. But obviously the gap or the weakness needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. All those things will be revealed when stress is put on in a situation. And so you'll see where we go to where our breaking point is for each one of us. And then we can learn and maybe push a bit further. Our character is revealed during our times of testing. We don't get it before or after. It's revealed in that time. Then we can learn from it afterwards, of course. Right? Fantastic. Kat says, and what a great keynote speaker. So I'm sure she's talking about you, Amy, because you're a fantastic keynote speaker. And Kat is even better. And if you're saying it about me, Ruth, thank you. Love it. So
I'm noting in your game, John, and then also the metaphor you used a minute ago, Amy, in terms of like being in like digging a trench and then being it and not being able to see over the walls. This idea of like, what are we unaware of? Right? Like, what are the assumptions we're making in a situation? What are we blind to? What's the water we're swimming in that we don't even know about because it's water and we're fish? So I'm curious for both of you. I mean, John, you can reveal maybe what happens in the game, but how are some ways that you help people see opportunity to move outside of their habitual ways of being, or notice things that they might not be paying attention to?
Yeah. So for me, in that specific game, I don't have to say much because they see it. It's a self-discovery. I can just maybe prompt it with a very simple question of, how does this relate to your work? That's all the prompting that, if I even need to do that, that's needed. Because people, they see, man, we can do this different. I actually called an audible with a group of hospitality industry folks a couple of days ago in another place, and I didn't do this activity, but I did something that was like it. And what was coming up was I couldn't get them to shift because I'll rewind it. They're being done. The season's coming up. They're about to go into. They're in the resort area, and all these people that do good in life, the kind of the rich folks that are going to come in that have all this money, and they start dumping on the staff. So
Ouch.
they do all this positive stuff in the community, but then they come in on the staff and they're demanding. And so how do you
Ugh.
handle lead in that? What can we do different? Maybe preempt some things. But I don't want to give them those answers of what I'm thinking about, because I'm not a hospitality person in that, like they are. I'm in the industry, but I'm not of the industry like that. So I wanted them to come up with it. And they came up with some amazing responses. So I did kind of this anarchist guide to being the worst guest ever. And what would the chapters be? And so they came up quickly with that. And so then we could flip it and say, what can we do to make the guest experience even better? So I would love to hear your thoughts, Amy.
I have zero experience in the hospitality industry other than potentially as a guest.
A good guest.
I do think that what you're describing, and you're kind of starting with the beanbag and then this manifesto of how to be the worst guest ever, really goes back to, what are we doing and why are we doing it? Right. And I think when you challenge people to think about it that way, it doesn't come off like you're criticizing the approach. Because the second you criticize the approach and you criticize someone, you injure something about them, be it their ego, their self-worth, how much they like you, dozens of other things. But so by challenging them to think through something that they do regularly, if not daily, you're both right. They will come up with different ways to approach it. And usually that different way is going to be a better solution than what they've applied in the past.
Yeah.
Or at least different, right? So at least it will open up some new insight or some new opportunity.
I like to say different is better than better.
Ooh, say more about that. I love that.
Yeah, I like that too. Something resonated with that.
Well, when you're different than your competition, that becomes part of your brand and your value proposition. Right? So when we're different, we can talk about Southwest. We all should know that story. I know that you two know it. I hope that all of our audience knows it. Southwest wanted to do more than fly airplanes and connect people from, departure to destination. Southwest wanted flying to be an experience. And they came in, and they still are in some ways different than what is the standard course of action for their competition in the industry. Mm. And the people who fly Southwest, that's a cult. That's practically a cult-like following. Right? They identify with the brand now because the brand is different. And they identify with the fun, or you give them some control over where they're seating, because you get to pick your own seat, like in real time, and not in your computer screen when you make your reservation. And they have maintained that differentiation still today, through everything the airline industry has gone through. And the last 30 years, but certainly the last 4. And so different oftentimes is better than better.
It's fascinating. And my wife, of course, yes, she works for the company. And digging even deeper into that story, mm-hmm. They only had 3 planes. And they were trying to figure out a way to dominate this market, and because they knew they wanted to kind of lower the cost of air travel, make it open for everybody. Mm-hmm. So they had to think different, right? And they didn't want to use a whole bunch of marketing dollars to take away from the planes. They wanted to flip a plane in 10 minutes is what they wanted to do, so they could keep those planes in the air, moving people. Right. And I thought what was fascinating is they said, we are going to be like Uber customer service, right? We're just going to go ballistic on the customer service. And that has kind of maintained itself even through and the cult culture that's there, because it is like the family. When I first went flying with them, as a non-rev on my wife's benefit, I was just testing stuff, right? I was trying to figure out, how does the system work, because it wasn't like the system I knew. And from the gate agent to the booking agent to the flight attendants, the pilots, to the baggage claim, everyone at one point said to me, "Welcome to the family." It was all the way through the company. And I find that, when tragedy hits or a hard thing like last year when the whole system went down, right, and people were stranded, folks were coming in off without, being prompted to help their cohorts out,
That's cool.
to sort bags, to get things ready, to what can I do to get on my job to get the contracts for trucks to get, baggage to people.
Mhm.
And a culture like that, you just can't teach that. That has to be ingrained in the system of helping your teammate win. And that goes back to what you do all the time, Kat. In improv, you want to make the other person win and be
Right.
successful.
Yeah, the way we say focus on your partner, make your partner look good, delight your partner. Those are all phrases we use. And it reminds me of sort of where we started today, Amy, when we were talking about finding those opportunities to celebrate, especially as a leader, to create a culture where you're not waiting, it's not always like the next goal or you're waiting till you get to some big final thing, but just along the way, creating an environment where people feel appreciated and seen and valued.
Right. And change is constant. To your point on that, it doesn't end. You don't get to a point and say, all right, we're done.
No.
Right. There's truly no end to the game. And so, yeah, celebrating throughout versus thinking you're going to have some final destination. There really is not a final destination.
Yeah.
No, it's that's the end of my model, right? I'm laughing because when I share them my keynotes, it's like I say, then you get to the reward, but the reward's not a destination; it's a plateau for the next growth.
No, then you go back to the beginning, right? That's
or you expand, you see where somebody else is, but you win the silver medal, right? You win the medal, but that was what 24 years ago almost. Right now, 23 years ago. So 23 years ago, you have that. I'm not living in Sydney, Australia with my medal, right there. You continue to grow. You continue to elevate. You continue to increase in knowledge and wisdom, hopefully.
John, much like you, every time I see that clip, I think you're going to win.
Me too. Me too. I play a clip, everybody, in my presentation of winning the silver medal. And everybody's they're on edge. They know I've won silver, but they're on the edge thinking I'm going to win the gold medal. And I'm there too. What's going to happen? What's going to happen?
If it'll be different this time.
It'll be different.
Well, there is never an end, but we are sort of probably coming to the pause of this conversation.
Yes.
John, don't you think? We
Yes.
cannot do that unless we play a game. So in the background, as we've been talking, I've been thinking about what game should we play? And here's what I think. You did a very good job with the alphabet, Amy.
Thank you.
A, B, C, D, E, and you even did it out of order. So I know you're an expert. So I think we should, one of the key sort of foundational forever games in improv is called the alphabet game. And the way it works is just the next person who speaks has to start their line of dialogue, their sentence, with the next letter of the alphabet. So we'll just have a conversation. Maybe we can just keep talking. We can have a topic if we want to get, and I'll start with A, and then, I don't know, let's go in this order. Then Amy, you can say something with B. John, you can say something with C, and we'll just keep going till we get to the end of the alphabet. All right? So what do we want to talk about? Do we want to have a topic to talk about?
Oh, Thanksgiving is coming up, right? This is the month of Thanksgiving. Okay.
All of my family is going to gather this year at my cousin Paul's house. He's an incredible cook.
Better believe that's going to be an amazing experience.
Could you cook a turkey or could you cook a ham?
Don't underestimate the power of cooking many different dishes for many different people. I think you shouldn't choose and you should do both.
Everybody's palate is different.
For instance, I like to have sweet potato pie where others like pumpkin pie?
Good point. This is a bone of contention in a lot of houses, is like, which is the right pie, pumpkin or sweet potato?
However, we should be cognizant of not fighting on holidays, especially over silly things such as what kind of pie we're going to eat.
If your pie is pumpkin, I don't know what you're thinking about, because sweet potato is the pie of choice, Amy.
Just like we did with the ham and the turkey. Maybe we have both.
Keep in mind, John, I just said, please don't be combative and fight with your relatives over holiday food preferences.
Let me tell you, Amy, I'm just there right now. You've taken me to a different level, because this is the thing that we may want to talk a little bit further about.
My mom would have agreed with you, Amy. She didn't like arguing at the Thanksgiving table.
Not only should we do our best to overcome arguments, but we should be grateful for the people we surround ourselves with. Try to ignore the temptation of Black Friday, and of course, focus on the nonprofits we can support on Giving Tuesday.
Obviously, that is a great way to shift the conversation and make it feel that we're all connected and moving forward.
People should all follow your advice, Amy. I agree.
Phew. Whew. All right. I can't say I quite agree with you. Quietly, I will humbly agree with you.
Respecting the conversation and how we are trying to squash and regroup, maybe I can reconsider the way that I am thinking about pumpkin pie and sweet potato pie.
So will you include a pumpkin pie at your Thanksgiving?
To be determined.
Situationally,
We're at U. U-R-S-T-U.
you. Oh, we are U-T-S-T. Oh, you. Oh, okay. So I was wrong. I went backwards.
You could do it backwards.
Was it? Well, you could do it. Will you do a pumpkin pie? And then you said what, Amy?
So will you do a pumpkin pie? To be determined.
I said to be determined or to be continued.
To be continued. Unless I put in an apple pie. That might solve everything.
Oh, very good idea. Way to up the stakes.
Well, you'll have to let us know what decision you make.
Xylophone. It's an instrument that we play every Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you play an instrument. You could have a band while you're baking in the background.
Kat, I think it's you.
I said you play an instrument. You should absolutely include a xylophone and have a band while you eat your pie. And we have a Z. You're going to bring us home with Z.
I am. Zappy, that sounds like a good time.
Yay!
Oh, Zippy Zappy. We're back to Zippy Zappy. Zappy. We had Zippy Zappy.
You don't even know it, but it's
You don't even know it. That was great.
Good job, you guys. How was that?
It was fun. There are a lot of letters in the alphabet.
Your words say it was fun, and your tone says, I don't know.
I have an expressive face.
You do. What I guess my final question is, what does this have to do with change or navigating ambiguity or anything else that we talked about today?
Well, I think we did just navigate ambiguity. We had no way of knowing what the person ahead of us was going to say. However, we were still restricted in how we could respond because there were some rules that were out there.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's a nice parallel to what we've been talking about, which is, how we do navigate change.
Brilliant.
And you also helped a person. Check this out. Jolene, thank you so much. I wanted to just honor you today for what you shared. So helpful today. Yes, I would agree, because these two women are just brilliant on what they do. So as you get ready for Monday coming up, we are with you, and we want to see you succeed 100%, and keep on telling more folks about this. We live for this. It's what you have said is why we do the show, why Kat and I would meet every Saturday morning during the pandemic, just so that we could figure out ways to help people. And bringing Amy to this conversation today, and her wisdom was just 100% fantastic. And then Ruth, thank you. Yes, that was awesome. Could be stressful. what would you try that game at the office? That'd be fantastic as well. And then thank you to Jolene. She says thanks for that. Again, amazing. I want to just honor all y'all that were on today, and we have come to another end of our show, and I'm so sad because this was a great time together. If you are looking for another way to shift your performance, join us on Performance Shift. We are on the Apple Podcasts and any place where your podcasts are. And as we wrap up today, are there any last thoughts that you all have?
I had a wonderful time, and I look forward to whatever comes next.
Yeah, and I will say thank you for having me on. I had, a great experience, and I am a fan of this show, right? I'm a longtime listener, first time caller, basically here. So I figured if I showed up enough and commented during, like these people are, that you would feel the manifestation I was sending out there to have me on. So I'm happy that has worked.
And
well, there's a prompt, right? Let us know if you want to be a guest and you have something to talk about.
That's right. If you want to be a guest, shoot us a note. And I don't know how you can shoot us a note. I don't know do we have a place up there? Like maybe it's on the podcast channel.
They could contact you on LinkedIn.
They can, or our websites are there, and feel free to reach out. I think our emails are also on the podcast.
Or suggest to somebody, suggest to somebody.
Yeah.
So for that, we'll say, go forth, inspire your world. Go is your command. Forth is your direction. Inspire is your vocation. Because only you can do this work, and world, because you do this work in your sphere of influence. We'll see you next time on another episode of Performance Shift. Bye for now.